Welcome back to The Explainer, everyone. I was absolutely amazed by the insights we uncovered for today, and I really think they're going to completely change how you view those tiny cars zipping around your city. We're literally in the midst of a quiet revolution when it comes to micromobility. It's this incredibly engaging story of how extreme physical constraints are sparking just unbelievable innovation, and how different sides of the world are tackling the exact same problem with wildly different strategies. Okay, let's dive into this. So, here's our roadmap for the day. We'll kick things off with the micromobility revolution, look at Asia's high-tech utility, contrast that with Europe's fragmented market, examine the strategic clash, and finally, look ahead to the zero-emission future. It's a high-stakes tale of two markets. Section 1. The micromobility revolution. Small wheels, big impact. Right, so to really understand this revolution, we gotta look at its origin point, Japan's Kei car. The homologation standards here are incredibly rigorous. We're talking a strict maximum width of exactly 1.48 meters and a legal limit of 3.4 meters in length. These aren't just arbitrary numbers drawn out of a hat. These rigid physical constraints essentially forced manufacturers into a corner. But, instead of giving up, this strict regulatory boundary became the exact catalyst that birthed uncompromising space efficiency and brilliant engineering. I actually absolutely love this quote from the research. In the global theater of urban mobility, vehicle design is rarely a product of unfettered creative expression. Rather, it is an engineering response to rigid regulatory DNA. That just hits the nail on the head. While European regulators created a kind of loose and fragmented classification of light vehicles, Asia's strict, unified rules birthed a highly sophisticated ecosystem. Section 2. Asia's high-tech utility, the standard of democratized mobility. Honestly, Asia is executing an absolute masterclass right now. They're successfully bridging that massive gap between extreme affordability and advanced EV tech. Just look at the pioneers of this movement, the Nissan Sakura and its twin, the Mitsubishi XEV. They're strategically priced right around 14,000 euros and offer a highly practical 180-kilometer range. That's perfectly optimized for the daily home-to-work commuter cycle. And this brilliantly illustrates how targeting the reality of daily urban commuting at an aggressive price point just completely democratizes sustainable mobility. These aren't viewed as secondary toys, they're primary commuter assets. In fact, they're literally the best-selling electric vehicles in Japan right now. But of course, the market isn't standing still. Enter the disruptor, the Chinese colossus BYD, with their Racco model. BYD isn't just a new competitor, they're a segment-defining disruptor. They've brought a bespoke zero-emission platform tailored specifically for high-density urban navigation, which fundamentally raises the technical ceiling of the entire microcar category. They're shifting the paradigm from just a small city car to a fully viable regional commuter. 320 kilometers. That is 320 kilometers of range on a single charge. By hitting that staggering number, the BYD Racco is effectively doubling the current market standard for this class. I mean, that completely wipes out range anxiety for your average urban commuter. Now, what's really interesting about this is the charging capability, 100 kilowatts. This is a massive infrastructure shift. Incorporating 100 kilowatt fast charging shifts these vehicles from being restricted to slow overnight AC cycles, which kind of makes them slow neighborhood toys, into rapid turnaround commuter tools. You plug it in, get a quick charge, and you're immediately back on the road. And it's not just about the battery specs, it's about the physical engineering itself. Take Honda's brilliant M by M philosophy, man maximum, machine minimum. With models like the N-Van and N1, Honda prioritizes immense internal volume and integrates high-tech utility right into that tiny, strictly regulated footprint. They treat this microcar almost like a luxury suite on wheels. So why does this matter for your daily commute? Because it means solving the problem of urban congestion without sacrificing the comfort you'd expect from a full-sized car. This high-utility mindset is also completely revolutionizing last-mile logistics, which we know is the most carbon-intensive leg of delivery. Here's how it's playing out. Step 1. Toyota, Daihatsu, and Suzuki formed a strategic tri-brand alliance. Step 2. They share R&D costs by creating shared platforms for light commercial vehicles. In Step 3, this allows them to rapidly deploy zero-emission fleets like the Pixies van and the e-Hijet Cargo. By sharing that development burden, they optimize the unit economics of urban delivery, firmly cementing micromobility as essential critical commercial infrastructure in Asia. Okay, moving on to Section 3. Europe's fragmented market, the design premium tax. Looking westward, Europe's quadricycle market is, well, it's completely polarized. It's caught in this tug of war between aggressive budget cuts and elite boutique pricing. Let's juxtapose the two biggest legacy players. On one side, Stellantis secured a virtual monopoly through brilliant platform segmentation. They captured the budget entry level with the mass market Citroën Ami and higher margins with its refined sister, the Fiat Topolino. On the other side, you've got Renault. They actually pioneered the segment with the Twizy a decade ago, but recently suffered a massive capital misallocation. Their successor, the Mobilize Duo, had a very brief life, mainly because of a high list price that just couldn't compete against the affordable Ami. Result, unsustainable low sales volumes. In this specific segment, the price-to-value ratio is the absolute metric for survival. Aside from the massive conglomerates, Europe has its niche innovators testing the waters. The XEV Yoyo, for example, offers real car features like air conditioning and a really unique battery swapping system, but it faces fierce competition and a very active used market. Then you have the Microlino. This one leans heavily into an elite retro Asceta design. It looks absolutely amazing, but with a starting price well over 15,000 euros, it struggles with production slowdowns and caters to a very niche, modish audience. While these models are heavily design-focused, Europe's overall fragmentation severely hinders the kind of mass adoption we're seeing in Asia. Section 4. The strategic clash: affordable tech versus budget-constrained design. This is the direct showdown between the high-volume Asian blueprint and the gate-kept European landscape. When we compare these models side by side, you can clearly see the divide. The Nissan Sakura targets the mass market with a huge price-to-value advantage at around 14,000 euros, leading to mass success. The BYD Racco brings tech disruption with that 320-kilometer range. But looking over at Europe, the Citroën Ami dominates solely on aggressive budget pricing for the entry level, while the Microlino is isolated as an expensive, aspirational niche play. So the crucial point is, Asia's high-volume, tech-forward approach is really the only sustainable path for genuine mass-market micromobility. Which brings us to Section 5, the zero-emission future, integrating the queens of the city. Asian manufacturers aren't just staying in Asia, and this poses a severe threat to European makers looking westward. There are three strategic implications you need to understand here as a focused learner. First, the pricing parity threat. If 14,000 euro mass-produced imports hit the market, their economies of scale could literally deindustrialize European makers. Second, technological obsolescence. Bringing 100-kilowatt charging and 320-kilometer ranges to Europe makes current models look like obsolete neighborhood toys. And third, consumer evolution. Buyers are shifting towards prioritizing internal space and high-tech utility over mere smallness. Together, these three factors form the ultimate blueprint for the zero-emission metropolis. So this leads us to the ultimate, provocative question for the next decade. Will these small queens of the city officially conquer the European metropolis? Because how this clash plays out will absolutely define the future infrastructure of our sustainable cities. The final verdict, based on all this data, the Asian utility-first philosophy is unequivocally better positioned right now. The future of the zero-emission city will almost certainly be built on the high-tech, high-efficiency blueprint currently being perfected in the East. Thank you so much for joining me today to explore this. I hope this explainer provided you with the key insights and useful information you need to understand the massive strategic shifts happening in urban mobility. Keep learning, stay focused, and I'll catch you in the next one.